I heard that you have a vault of hundreds of unreleased songs. Are you ever going to release them and let us hear?
One day, someone will release them. I don't know that I'll get to release them.
Prince admitted on live television that he might never get to release his own music. What he didn't say was that hundreds was a massive understatement.
Did you know about the vault before you worked there?
I started the vault.
Susan Rogers built that vault and confirmed it was real. When Prince died unexpectedly, his vault became an impenetrable fortress.
And it's just this room in the building that just has poof and like veils and whatnot. And then there's the door with the combination lock.
A literal bank vault with a combination that only Prince knew, and he was now dead.
It's a big steel thick door with a big combination lock on it.
Nobody could crack the code Prince took to his grave. Then they hired a professional safecracker to break into their own inheritance.
Remember, downstairs in Prince's house, there are two things, a garage and a massive vault. And inside that vault is where thousands and thousands of unreleased songs are.
When that door finally opened, hundreds became thousands. What they found inside changed music history forever. But this story begins decades before that vault was cracked open. In 1983, Susan Rogers walked into Prince's world as a 23-year-old audio technician. She was hired to fix broken equipment, not to become the architect of music's most mysterious vault. But Prince had already been recording obsessively for 5 years, and his unreleased material was scattered across studios in Minneapolis, Los Angeles, and New York. Nobody knew the full scope of what he'd created. Prince was paranoid about his masters. He'd grown up watching record labels control and exploit black artists, keeping the original recordings while the creators got pennies. When he started making serious money with 1999 and Purple Rain, he made a decision that seemed crazy at the time. He wanted to own and control every piece of music he ever recorded.
When I joined Prince in '83, I had a little bit of downtime. One of the things I realized would be smart for me to do would be to get all his tapes together in one place.
Rogers thought she was just being organized. She had no idea she was starting the most ambitious archival project in music history. Prince had been recording since 1977, often laying down complete songs in single sessions that he'd never release. Studios had 2-inch master tapes scattered everywhere, and some were already degrading. What Rogers discovered during those early months was shocking. Prince wasn't just prolific, he was compulsive. While other artists might record 15 to 20 songs for an album and use 10, Prince was recording 50 to 60 songs per album cycle and releasing maybe 12. The leftover material wasn't rough demos or half-finished ideas. These were fully produced, radio-ready tracks that could have been hits.
Then it became a little bit of an obsession. So then when my goal was, I want us to have everything he's ever recorded right here.
Rogers became a musical detective, tracking down masters from sessions at Sound 80 Studios in Minneapolis, Sunset Sound in Los Angeles, and various other facilities Prince had used. She found complete songs that studio engineers didn't even know existed. Prince would sometimes book studio time under fake names, record entire tracks in the middle of the night, and leave with the masters before anyone knew what he'd created. By 1985, Rogers had collected what she estimated were over 500 unreleased songs, spanning Prince's career from 1977 to 1985. But this was just the beginning. Prince's creative output was accelerating, not slowing down. He was entering the most prolific period of his career, and they needed a fortress to protect what was becoming a musical goldmine.
So I started amassing them. And then that's when we began planning Paisley Park, and we realized if we're going to have a vault, let's have a vault. Because if we get, I don't know, if we get a tornado, if we get a flood, this is his legacy.
When Prince began planning Paisley Park in 1986, the vault wasn't an afterthought. It was central to the design. He commissioned a 65,000 square foot complex in Chanhassen, Minnesota, but the most important room would be in the basement. Prince wanted military-grade security for his musical legacy. He specified a Mosler American Century safe, the same model used by major banks to store millions in cash and precious metals. The vault was massive, roughly 20 feet by 40 feet, with climate-controlled air circulation and fireproof construction. Prince wasn't just protecting against theft, he was was preserving these recordings for posterity. The combination lock was a spinning wheel with thousands of possible combinations. Prince memorized the code and never wrote it down anywhere.
But when I last saw it, I think there were some 700 songs, maybe 800 or so.
By the time Rogers left Prince's employ in 1987, she'd cataloged nearly 800 unreleased songs spanning just 8 years of his career. But Prince was just getting started. The vault was barely half full, and he was about to enter the most creative decade of his life. What Rogers didn't know was that Prince had developed a philosophy about his unreleased music that would guide him for the next 30 years. By 1987, Rogers had built Prince's vault and filled it with nearly 800 songs, but she had no idea what was coming next. Prince didn't work like other musicians. While most artists treated recording as a 9-to-5 job with scheduled sessions and planned breaks, Prince operated like a factory that never shut down. His engineers, band members, and studio staff quickly learned that working with Prince meant being available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Paisley Park complex became a musical fortress where Prince could record whenever inspiration struck. He installed multiple studios, rehearsal rooms, and editing suites so that different projects could run simultaneously. Prince might be recording vocals for one album in Studio A, while a band rehearsed for another project in Studio B, and engineers mixed a third album in the control room.
He worked incredibly quickly, so he was so facile on so many instruments.
Rogers witnessed Prince's unprecedented speed firsthand during the Purple Rain and Sign of the Times sessions. While other artists needed separate musicians for drums, bass, keyboards, and guitar, Prince could play every instrument on his records. He'd start with a drum pattern, add bass, layer keyboards, record guitar parts, and finish with vocals, often completing entire songs in 3 to 4 hour sessions. This wasn't unusual for Prince. It was his standard operating procedure. Studio engineers reported that Prince would sometimes arrive at Paisley Park at 6 p.m. and work straight through until 10 a.m. the next morning, completing 2 to 3 fully produced songs in a single all-night session. The speed wasn't about rushing. Prince simply heard complete arrangements in his head and could execute them faster than most musicians could even understand them.
We recorded with Prince whenever he felt like recording. If I was laying in bed with my wife watching Dick Van Dyke or watching Andy Griffith at 3 o'clock in the morning and my pager went off, I had to get up and go to Paisley Park and record.
Michael Koppelman, who engineered sessions throughout the 1990s, described the reality of Prince's creative schedule. There were no business hours, no advance planning, no consideration for normal work-life balance. When Prince felt inspired to record at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, everyone had to respond immediately or risk missing the session entirely. This constant availability meant Prince could capture musical ideas the moment they occurred, rather than losing them to conventional studio scheduling. Many of the songs that ended up in the vault were spontaneous creations. Prince would get an idea for a melody or rhythm, call his engineers, and have a complete song recorded before sunrise.
From the late 70s up until, when I was there, I say about 2,000 songs. He probably has more now.
If he was awake, as long as he wasn't on the phone and handling business for the most part, Prince was recording.
The numbers reveal the true scope of Prince's obsession. 2,000 songs in roughly 20 years means Prince was completing an average of 100 unreleased songs per year. Nearly 2 complete songs every week for 2 decades. And this estimate only covered Koppelman's time at Paisley Park, not Prince's entire career. Prince's approach was to record everything and decide later what fit his current artistic vision. He treated the vault like a musical savings account, depositing songs continuously without immediate plans for withdrawal. Songs that didn't fit his current album concept wouldn't be discarded. They'd be preserved for future projects that might never come.
It was like a funnel. It was as if somebody was pouring these songs into him, and they would just continue to come out the other end like a water spigot that wouldn't turn off. but instead of water, it was song.
Songs flowed through Prince constantly, and the vault became the collection point for this endless stream of music. He wasn't selective about what went in during the creation process. If he recorded it, it was automatically preserved. The vault's contents during this period reveal Prince's artistic evolution in ways his released albums never could. While his public releases showed careful curation and commercial consideration, the vault preserved his pure creative impulses without filters. Experimental tracks, genre explorations, and emotional expressions that didn't fit his public image were all captured and stored. After decades of this relentless recording pace, Prince's vault had become a musical Fort Knox. By 2010, Prince had been filling his vault for over 25 years. The basement of Paisley Park was crammed with industrial shelving holding thousands of master tapes, DAT recordings, and digital files. Prince was the only person who knew the exact contents, the only person who could navigate the collection, and most importantly, the only person who knew the combination to get inside. Prince's relationship with his vault had evolved over the decades. What started as practical preservation had become almost spiritual. He viewed the unreleased music as his truest artistic expression, songs created without commercial pressure, label interference, or public expectation. The vault represented his complete creative soul, not just the portions he chose to share with the world.
Did he ever say why he didn't put this out there?
No, and I remember asking him about it, and he said, well, we'll just have to revisit that down the line, because he was just on to the next project.
Morris Hayes, who worked with Prince as his keyboardist and musical director for over 20 years, witnessed Prince's casual attitude toward masterpieces. Welcome to America, recorded in 2010, was a complete album featuring Prince's full band and addressing political themes that were incredibly relevant. The album was polished, powerful, and ready for release. Prince simply shelved it and moved on to other projects. Hayes described watching Prince complete albums that were arguably better than some of his released work, only to lock them away without explanation. Prince's creative momentum was so strong that finishing an album wasn't a destination. It was just another step in an endless creative journey. The vault wasn't storage for rejected material. It was a repository for complete artistic statements that Prince felt weren't ready for public consumption.
You think that's what it was? It's
just, I've never seen anybody that had that much work inside of them. It's just this unending stream of just music.
Even Hayes, who worked closely with Prince for 2 decades, couldn't fully comprehend the scope of his creative output. The unending stream of music meant that Prince was always working several projects ahead of what the public was hearing. By the time fans were discovering his latest album, Prince had already recorded the next 3 albums and was conceptualizing the ones after that. This creative abundance created a unique problem. Prince had generated so much music that releasing it all would have been commercially impossible and artistically overwhelming. The vault became his solution, a way to preserve everything while maintaining control over his public narrative. Prince could be selective about what he released while ensuring that nothing he created would ever be lost. When Prince died suddenly on April 21st, 2016, at age 57, he left behind one of the most complicated estate situations in entertainment history. He had no will, no clear succession plan, and no instructions for handling his unreleased music. Most critically, he had never shared the vault combination with anyone. The code died with him.
Turns out that in the basement of Paisley Park, the sprawling 46,000 square foot complex behind me, there may be a room, a sort of vault, filled with unreleased music.
News reports in the days following Prince's death could only speculate about the vault's contents. Entertainment journalists who had covered Prince for decades knew the vault existed, but none had ever seen inside. The estate representatives who arrived at Paisley Park found themselves staring at a massive steel door that might as well have been welded shut. The legal complications were staggering. Prince had died intestate, meaning his estate would be divided among his living relatives according to Minnesota law. But how do you divide something you can't access? The vault represented potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in unreleased music, but it was worthless if nobody could open it. When Prince's secret died with him, his estate faced an impossible situation. The estate's lawyers faced an unprecedented challenge. they needed to hire a safecracker to break into what was essentially a bank vault, but they couldn't risk damaging the contents inside. The Mosler American Century safe that Prince had chosen was legendary in security circles. No burglar had ever successfully breached one without inside knowledge of the combination. Dave McComey, a professional safecracker from Oregon, received the call that would make him part of music history. McComey had been studying high-security safes for decades and knew the Mosler American Century's reputation. These safes were designed to protect banks' most valuable assets, with multiple security layers and anti-tampering devices that could permanently seal the vault if triggered. The process required surgical precision. McComey had to drill a microscopic hole through the vault door at exactly the right location to view the combination mechanism without triggering the mousetrap relocker, a spring-loaded device that would slam steel bars into place, making the vault unopenable even with the correct combination. One wrong move and decades of Prince's music would be sealed forever. After hours of careful drilling and using specialized periscope equipment, McComey finally aligned the combination tumblers and opened the door that had been sealed since Prince's death. Estate representatives, lawyers, and archivists crowded around as the massive steel door swung open for the first time in months.
And released. Remember, downstairs in Prince's house, there are two things, a garage and a massive vault. And inside that vault is where thousands and thousands of unreleased songs are.
The scale was beyond anything they had prepared for. The vault measured approximately 800 square feet and was packed floor to ceiling with industrial shelving. Every shelf was organized with master tapes, DAT recordings, digital files, and handwritten notes in Prince's distinctive script. The hundreds of songs Prince had mentioned on television in 2012 were revealed to be a massive understatement. Initial estimates suggested the vault contained between 6,000 and 8,000 unreleased recordings. But these weren't just rough demos or incomplete ideas. Many were fully produced songs that sounded radio-ready. Others were complete albums that Prince had finished but never released. The vault also contained over 50 unreleased music videos, concert footage, and hours of studio session recordings that captured Prince's creative process in real time.
7-time Grammy Award winner reportedly left behind a secret vault of songs so vast his estate could release an album a year for the next century.
The news reports following the vault's opening tried to convey the magnitude of the discovery, but the numbers were almost incomprehensible. Prince had created enough unreleased music to sustain a major release schedule for decades. At a conservative estimate of 12 songs per album, the vault contained enough material for 500 to 600 albums. But quantity was only part of the story. As archivists began listening to the material, they realized they weren't dealing with Prince's cast-offs or rejected ideas. Many of the vault recordings were among his best work, songs that could have been massive hits if Prince had chosen to release them during his lifetime.
I would think that maybe only a quarter of the music that we recorded during that time actually got released.
His revelation put the vault's significance into perspective. If only 25% of Prince's recorded material had been released during his most creative periods, then 75% of his artistic output from the Purple Rain and Sign of the Times eras remained unheard. The vault wasn't just a collection of unreleased songs. It was an alternate history of one of music's greatest artists. What that safecracker found behind the steel door shocked everyone. The vault's contents rewrote the understanding of Prince's creative legacy. What emerged wasn't just more music, it was evidence of artistic ambitions and creative experiments that completely changed how critics and fans viewed his work. The released albums that made Prince famous represented just a fraction of his actual creative output.
Prince was proud of everything we did. If it went in the vault, he was proud of it. He chose not to release it during his lifetime for many pieces, but it didn't mean that he didn't think it was worthy.
Roger's insight revealed the vault's true purpose. Prince wasn't hiding inferior work. He was preserving complete artistic statements that didn't fit his public strategy at specific moments in time. Every song in the vault had passed Prince's quality standards. They simply served different artistic purposes than his commercial releases. The vault contained multiple unreleased albums from various periods of Prince's career. Camille, recorded in 1986, featured Prince singing in a sped-up feminine voice and was pressed as a complete album before Prince pulled it from release at the last minute. The Black Album, recorded in 1987, was recalled after Prince had a spiritual experience that made him uncomfortable with its dark content. Dream Factory and Crystal Ball were triple album concepts that Prince condensed into shorter releases. But the most shocking discovery was Welcome to America, recorded in 2010 with Prince's full touring band. The album addressed racial inequality, political corruption, and social justice themes that proved remarkably prophetic when it was finally released in 2021. The timing of its discovery during the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020 seemed almost supernatural.
Yeah, Taika told me that music will be released, that she expects it to be remixed and released.
Prince's sister Taika Nelson promised that the vault material would eventually reach the public, but the process has been deliberately methodical. The estate understands they're managing one of the most valuable music catalogs in history, with each release requiring careful consideration of Prince's artistic intentions and commercial impact. The first major vault release, Welcome to America, debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 in July 2021 and topped vinyl sales charts. The album's success proved that Prince's unreleased material wasn't just historical curiosity, it was commercially viable music that could compete with contemporary releases. Critics praised the album's political relevance and musical sophistication, with many noting that it sounded like Prince's response to current social issues despite being recorded over a decade earlier.
Their career no longer matters so much as their legacy and their reputation. That's what matters now.
Rogers identified the fundamental shift in how Prince's music functions after his death. During his lifetime, Prince had to balance artistic expression with commercial considerations, label politics, and public expectations. Now, his estate can focus purely on preserving and presenting his complete artistic vision without those constraints. The vault has also revealed Prince's working methods in unprecedented detail. Handwritten track listings show how he organized album concepts. Multiple versions of songs demonstrate his perfectionist approach to arrangement and production. Collaboration tapes with other artists reveal his influence on musicians who worked with him at Paisley Park. Perhaps most importantly, the vault proves that Prince was thinking about his legacy in ways that weren't apparent during his lifetime. He wasn't just recording for immediate release, he was building a musical time capsule that would continue revealing new facets of his artistry for generations. The vault represents Prince's insurance policy for immortality, ensuring that his creative voice would continue evolving and surprising audiences long after his physical presence was gone. The estate continues releasing vault material carefully, knowing they're managing one of music's most valuable treasure troves. Each new discovery proves that Prince's genius was even deeper than anyone imagined. With thousands of songs still unreleased, the vault will keep shocking the world for decades to come. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.